Yeah, I don't think it takes too much. I mean, one good experience, they come in, they're like, "How come we don't do this more often?" And then they don't remember that for another 18 months when they do it to the next time. When they're like, "How come I don't do this more often?" They think that every time, every 18 months. All you got to do is get them in 2 or 3 times in a row, and you can make that
That's
habit. It
it, right?
doesn't take a lot.
So we've got dozens of centers that are successfully using our reservation platform, but we put out a $250 promotion saying somebody's going to win 250 bucks who makes a reservation in bowls within the next 2 weeks. We just put that out recently. We're talking about hundreds of reservations, thousands of dollars to bowling centers just through saying, "Hey, you bowled. It's been a little bit. Why don't you bowl again? Somebody's going to win some money," right? We put that out of our own
Yeah.
pocket just to prove the concept that having that lifeline actually does get people to bowl more often. And it doesn't take much to really develop a habit. Like if you look, what you're talking about as far as the average usage for a person in a leisure setting, whether it be bowling or something else, but particularly bowling in this case, is 1 to 3 times a year. You're like real lucky. If we look at what the car wash industry was across a lot more car washes, 64,000, but it was very similar. It was 3.2. Like we've been able to drill down in that industry to almost a science of 3.2 uses per year. When we look, the average member is using it about 3.2 times a month, right? So what we've done is taking
Hmm.
consumers, turned them into habitual users through some kind of offer. In that case, it's membership. It doesn't always need to be, but what we've done is created a situation where they're a habitual user paying us recurring monthly revenue. We know what we're getting from them. We know how often they're going to use it. It's high fixed cost, it's low variable. Everybody's profiting from it, but that person has a real relationship to that institution, in that case being a car wash. Let's create real relationships to your bowling institution, your family entertainment center institution for these
Hmm.
people through smart communication that turns it into a habit and makes them feel welcome to bring their family, to refer their friends, and just makes it all right. This is the spot I go to on Thursday once or twice a month.
Yeah, and I want to touch on maybe the, like you said, the lifeline again one more time, because you mentioned earlier about, and I've talked about this before, about the lifetime value of a customer, and it's almost non existent in the industry. No one really talks about that, and I don't think it's their fault because of how difficult it is to track that high of a volume of customers coming through. A lot of them are paying cash. They might just buy one thing at one counter, another at another counter. Really hard to track. What excited me about what you guys have is you start to complete that circle, as I call it, where we can see when they came in, we can see what they spent, we can start to know who they are, and then you can get finally get a sense of what that lifetime value is for them through the software tracking it rather than you tracking it. Because let's be honest, a proprietor manually tracking all their
Yeah,
customers and what
no.
they spend, impossible, never going to happen. But with using like a software or a database or customer management, as you're calling it, now we can really start to get some insights into that and start building it automatically. And that's where you start to get it's pretty.
Exactly. Like not just that, but understand like there is such thing as pitch fatigue for the person who hasn't used you in a year, and you begin to understand, okay, this person's from a different zip code and they used it once when they were traveling or they were here for a birthday party, right? Really
Mhm.
understanding a little bit of the science behind what Amazon does and how they communicate to you and all these other companies that you're frequently using. There's a science behind what they're doing, right? So lifetime value may never
Mhm.
be like unless we're talking about a specific recurring revenue model. It may never be able to be boiled down to a science, but there are things that we've understood as we built these models in the gym and car wash industry that you can begin to understand what is the persona of a frequent user and then what's the communication flow to them versus what is the occasional user. And there's sort of that, like anybody who's a salesperson understands, there's a nurturing cycle and there are different flows and stages to an opportunity, but you communicate to these people differently. And that's
Mhm.
what we need to understand as an industry is what's the right way to nurture somebody along to get them to adopt the behaviors that we want them to adopt. And it may not always be the same. We may understand this person is a birthday person, right? And they've got 3 kids and they've done birthdays with us for 4 years in a row for 2 different kids. They're going to do that third kid, right?
Mhm.
Like let's build a model for that.
Right.
Whereas this guy is a league bowler who never does anything but league bowling, okay, we understand. There's a way to communicate to him. He'll be annoyed if you're talking to him about
Mhm.
birthdays and St. Patty's Day bowling, right? But there's a person St. Patty's Day
Right.
bowling is right for.
Mhm.
And it's sort of building this science
Exactly.
behind how are we increasing lifetime value.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.